Hey everyone, my name is Derek Barnick, and I'm going to be going over the top strategies and top tips you need to know about the business simulation game to succeed and hopefully get a wonderful grade in your class and beat the competition. So I'm going to be going over, first of all, really quick, why should you be listening to me? There's tons of different videos out here about this game, and a lot of them are going to say maybe some different stuff than I'm going to say, but I've played this game twice now. I was invited to a third one, and I'm going to show you why you should be listening to me in the first place. I did really well in the Best Strategy Invitational and in my class for my master's degree. Then I'm going to be going over the top 3 tips. So let's get started. I'll show you what's going on. All right, so first off, I'm going to show you why you should listen to me. This is the Best Strategy Invitational. So these are invitations that are sent out to the #1 teams in every class. So there's 919 teams invited for this one and 43 accepted. As you can see here, I was in Industry 3 and I got second with a score of 102. Pretty much what that means is out of 100, if you don't know how the scoring system works, but most teachers will give you, I'm guessing, extra credit if you score over 100. Now this wasn't for classes for the invitational, but as you can see, I did it really well. I did unfortunately make some mistakes, but that's what I'm going to go over in the tips and explain what you need to know and how you need to play the game, hopefully to beat the competition. Next, so this is the first biggest reason, and this I did solo, so I clearly knew what I was doing playing by myself. Next, my team was a Foot Glove. This was for my MBA program. We scored 109.5 out of 110, and we tied for 10th in 1 week. Then in another week, we scored 109.5, tied for 7th. So you can see, and quite honestly, I did a lot of the decision making for the team. I played with 2 other guys, and at the end of the day, I was making the decisions. So as you can see, I know what I'm doing. I know how to play the game, and I hope that these tips really help you out and help you succeed in your game. So we're going to get started. The first tip that I'm going to suggest is if we go to the corporate lobby. So this is where we're going to start. And this was my corporate lobby for the business or Best Invitational. The first one I can't stress enough is read the player guide. The player guide, it's 40 pages long. You're probably not going to want to read it, but I can't stress it enough. If you want to get a good grade, if you want to do well in this game, read the player guide. First of all, a lot of the quizzes and the questions about the game are going to be in the player guide. You need to know this. The game is very technical. And this is where a lot of people get it wrong. And when I first started playing the game, I was looking at YouTube, like, how do I win this game? And I watched one of the YouTube videos, and he's like, well, you only need to pay attention to this, 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 and this. Well, that's not the case. You need to pay attention, you and your team, or if you're by yourself, you need to pay attention to everything. Everything goes into it. There's a lot of different things you need to pay attention to. Please, I can't stress this enough. Don't be lazy. Read it. Go through everything. Understand it. And it's going to be different than the one I'm showing you probably right here, but I can't stress it enough. Please don't be lazy. Read it. And I almost can guarantee that you'll do well in the game. It's a differentiator. If you read this, you'll understand the game. And this is what I think led me to being able to beat my competition. So this is the first tip. Please read this. The second tip is going to be here. The second tip is going to be understand the scoreboard. It's very important to understand how you're getting graded, how you're getting scored, and what metrics go into this to make it, to help you win, really. So the first thing is learning about the EPS, ROE, and stock price. So one thing that I kind of screwed up on for my game in the Best Strategy Invitational is I forgot that at the end of the game, it's the weighted average that really matters. This is what you're going to be scored on, is the weighted average compared to your competitors. And so you want to make sure that all throughout here, you're getting a high weighted average or high scores every year. So as you can see, like I started off pretty slow and then I started increasing it towards the end. Where company D, for example, that beat me, they started off, think it was one player, he started off right away, out of the gate, great scores. And that's what led him to have a higher weighted average than me, which really benefited him. Next thing is return on equity. Same thing, it's an average. Try to keep your return on equity high all throughout the years, regardless if you're only playing 5 years or playing all 10. Stock price. Now, stock price is only at the end. This is where you only have to worry about getting the top number here in your stock price to get a good score. So as you can see, I had close to $500, which was double the 250. I got 24 points out of that. Now for the best in industry, because company D had close to 600, I only scored 17 points. And they scored 20 because they were the best in the industry. The next one is credit rating. So credit rating is not you don't have to score a good credit rating throughout everything. It's just if you get a good one at the end, which I did. Next one is image rating. Here you're going to want to have a good average throughout the whole thing. As you can see, I had about a 76. So I did not get the investor expectation. And also because I had a 59 at the very end, because I dropped my image rating to gain other things. But yeah, so this is something you really need to know, understand, so that you can keep track and think of the long term with your company to make sure you're scoring well at the very end. The next thing that you need to pay attention to is, and this I think is one of another very important thing, is to pay attention to the competitive efforts, especially these graphs down here. So you can see there was a ton of competition. I was company B, and at the very end I did poorly in this, but I still scored well. You have to differentiate yourself from the competition. Company C did great. Look, they were by themselves in the bottom. Company E and A, they did pretty well because they didn't have too much competition up here. But everybody in this middle section had a really tough time fighting because we were stuck between both of these companies, the top and the bottom. Company I and H throughout most of the years did fairly well because they didn't have much competition. They could get a lot of sales without having to fight all these other companies. So what I would suggest is pay attention, and everybody at year 10 starts on the same, but pay attention to how these companies are diversifying and changing, and try to make sure you stay away from them. So that's another really important thing to do. A couple other things is just think about the long term for the company. Think about the long term of how you're going to differentiate yourself, or what competitive, if you're going to do low cost, or if you're going to do differentiation or segmentation, make sure you choose that and kind of stick with it. And then I guess another thing that I would suggest is make sure you know what you're doing in all of these sections. And this is where you're going to learn from the player guide, and you can watch my videos and understand a little bit more. Now, like I said, there's no single way to win. Some other people might say there is. Well, there's really not. Like, there's just knowing what the competition is doing, and like, how can you compete effectively against them with your own ideas and everything. One thing I'm going to suggest though is don't not do private label. It's very important. It's very important to do private label to make sure that you are competing. Well, you get a lot of good things. First of all, you should be able to get good profit margins, good margins over direct costs. And then also you're going to gain image rating and some other benefits too. So make sure you're paying attention to this. And I guess those are some of the main things. There's, of course, plenty more that I could talk about, but I want to keep this video somewhat short, so I'm not going too long and hopefully not boring you. But I'm going to be making other videos, so feel welcome to take the time to like and subscribe if this helps you. And if you have any questions, I have my email address provided. So you can send me an email if you have any questions, or probably send me or put a comment in the comment section, and I will try to respond to that. But other than that, I hope you do well, and go ahead and watch my other videos. I go into more detail on a lot of these different entries and everything. And yeah, I hope you win, and I hope you do really well and get a great grade. So thank you for watching.